Hello, everybody. I'm Steve again, back with Fitness for Five with Dr. Nario. Dr. Nario is with Biointegrative Health Center in Reno, Nevada. You can look them up online and see all the different treatments and things that they can do. Pretty cool stuff. So welcome, Doctor.
Oh, Steve, thank you for the invite again.
Okay, so let's talk about sleep. I know sleep is very, very important for a lot of things. I know that, I'm in the fitness business and this is kind of a passion. I know sleep is something that really gets emphasized and should. So the first question may seem like a silly one, but can you define sleep for us? I mean, everyone knows what sleep is, but can you get into a little more depth on what that is?
Right. So, Steve, now is the time of adjustment for everybody. So, as we all know, we went back 1 hour again, and first Sunday of November. This is what we call daylight savings time ending, and some it's not a problem for them, but some it's a big problem for them. For sure, sleep is one of the factors that gets affected, and it gets a little shorter. So let me define our topic for today in terms of what is sleep. So this is a condition of the body and of course the mind. And typically we need a few hours. So I'm not defining the hours yet to recharge every night, in which the nervous system and of course becomes inactive, of course involving our eyes being closed and the muscles starting to relax during this state of sleeping, and consciousness practically is suspended. So this is a time of restoration and repair, not only for the physical, but also the mental and also the emotional. We should feel refreshed in order for us to understand that, wow, that is a pretty good sleep. And again, sleep is the one that's, regulates our what we call the circadian rhythm, or the natural internal clock that we have. And this is repeated every 24 hours, which the circadian rhythm is the one that dictates this is day and this is night. And again, why is this important? Now we're talking about sleep in the current time of the pandemic, is in the time of viral infections. Of course, not only COVID, but now the flu season is coming up. Good sleep hygiene is very important for proper functioning of the immune system.
Okay, so I know that sleep can have an impact on the immune system, but just how important is sleep on the impact of the immune system?
Right. That's now we're going to correlate that, Steve, together. Sleep actually facilitates the release of the immune cells from storage. So we all know that the bone marrow, the spleen, the lymph nodes, they all store the immune cells that we need to fight infections. It pushes it towards the side of where the infection is, and that's where the action starts. And sleep on the night. So here's a good another good point. Sleep on the night after vaccination. So the study was actually focused on hepatitis vaccines, produced a strong and persistent increase in antibody titers. So now apply that to the current vaccinations that are out there for the ones who choose to get it. Two problems of sleep that are out there: prolonged sleep or lack of sleep. Either one, if present, leads to a stress response, meaning they're both stressful. But sure, I'll take probably the prolonged sleep, and I probably need more of that. But the problems of this stressful stimulus leads to unspecific inflammation in our system, leading to chronic low-grade inflammation and pointing towards a state of immunodeficiency, or detrimental, a situation that's detrimental for our immune system, and also affecting our health in a bad way. But the most common problem out there is lack of sleep, or as what everybody calls insomnia. And individual problems with this varies, especially when you ask a person how much sleep do they need, right? And they would answer, I would just need 4, I just need 5. So what is the real definition? The real definition is most adults need 7 to 8 hours of good quality sleep per night. Meaning good quality, as I'm underlining that, means the major sleep episodes that we have does not have any frequent awakenings and is long enough for the individual. So the dog barking, waking up, you broke that sleep. You have to have deep restorative sleep. And here's some stats for you. 32% of the US healthcare workers report sleeping only 6 hours or less a day, which is considered too short by sleep experts. So we're in trouble. So this is just us, but what more for the regular population?
Wow. Okay. So interesting. That's a pretty detailed answer. So now you hear about insomnia. Um, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and that's a big problem right now, Steve. A lot of my patients are complaining about this, but let's give you the real definition of insomnia. It's difficulty falling asleep at night, pretty straight up, right? But there are other things affiliated to that. If you're waking up during the night, waking up too early, defining sleep difficulties, and having non-restorative sleep. So add all of those all together, and now when you're in this state, you would now have fatigue, functional changes such as irritability, depression, anxiety, and even difficulty focusing or paying attention, even memory lapses lasting lasting for a month. If you have all these problems in relation to bad sleep, then you probably can be diagnosed with insomnia. If you're concerned about sleep, most of the time, that's also a big sign that you have a problem, meaning, man, how am I going to sleep tonight? Am I going to get ample enough sleep? That's already a big sign for you. Another stat for you, 50 to 70 million adults in the US have chronic sleep and wakefulness disorders. More common, I'm not pointing fingers, but women, 25% of them will have this than men, 18% for men. And its prevalence increases with age and affecting almost 50% of the elderly. There are two reasons why we're going to have insomnia. One is primary. Primary is not associated to any medical or psychiatric illness. Secondary is a disorder that's related to a specific cause or a disease. So a good example for you of a secondary is when we talk about medications and substances that may interfere with sleep. So let me point this out. People think that when you drink alcohol, it's going to put you to bed that easy. Probably not. It's going to be, if you take alcohol chronically, you're going to be having sleep problems. And another example that's common out there is when we drink caffeine, when we take in or smoke cigarettes, the nicotine in there are stimulants. These are going to wake you up and not going to give you restful sleep. And one thing that a lot of people are taking is statins, cholesterol medication, also affects sleep. So fun fact for you, people who sleep 6 or less hours a day, and they say, hey, I'm good, I'm functional, I'm good with that. These are what we call some rare gene mutations. And again, in the population, they're very small in numbers. So that's why when you ask somebody, most people who say they do not need much sleep are actually pushing themselves. At the end of the day, they will struggle to stay awake and the functioning will be impaired during the daytime. So over time, the body will fail and chronic illness will ensue.
Okay. So I hear a lot about this too, maybe lifestyle modifications to help with this. Like, you hear things like get off the screen, 2 hours before you go to sleep and all that stuff. What are some real lifestyle modifications that you might recommend that could help reduce insomnia? Do you have any suggestions there that, that you would recommend?
Yes, of course. And this is something that I always discuss with my patients. So let's go back to what I just discussed. Adequate sleep duration, the hours. You have to meet that regardless. Don't be that guy, I'm good with 5, I'm good with 4. No, you have to meet that proper requirement. And this will lead to less insomnia symptoms. So let's go to diet. The diet and studies that have proven to be effective for insomnia, Mediterranean diet, because it has fish oil, olive oil, the fruits, the vegetables, low meat, meaning the omegas are helping out. Caffeine, please avoid as much as you can, especially for the ones who are slow metabolizers. You would know this if you drink a lot. I mean, if you drink a cup, you're going to be like running like crazy the whole day. You're a slow metabolizer. Do not drink more than 8 ounces of coffee that contains caffeine, or even, I mean, it's not only caffeine, but energy drinks as well that are out there. Do not take more than 2 in a day, and you have to consume this before noontime. And again, another good one would be regular exercise routines. These are going to be effective to decrease the sleep complaints and to treat chronic insomnia. And then exercise should be invigorating. And also, when you have issues with exercise, you would know that you're doing it wrong when you do it late and you're not sleeping. So you have adrenaline. You're running on cortisol at that time. So you have to move this exercise during the daytime. So suggestion would be, if you like to do exercise before going to bed, at least 4 hours away from bedtime. And again, you mentioned about this. Everybody's doing this. Electronic usage for playing, surfing the internet, reading would lead to insomnia. Why is that? Because of the blue light that's stimulating us from all these electrical devices. So my suggestion, 1 to 2 hours before going to bed, abstain. Read a classic book, read a magazine, read a newspaper, or even meditate instead. So lowering down that exposure, less stimulation for the brain.
Okay, so what about, last question, what about supplements or natural treatments or something like that? Is there anything you can recommend for that or something like that?
Yeah, Steve. So again, I'm not going to be, I'm going to just give general recommendations, because every time we have insomnia, this is nothing to play around with. Again, your medical professional needs to be on board. But here are some tips for everybody out there. Magnesium, take 1 hour before bedtime. And as we all know, when you're deficient in magnesium, insomnia is the next thing that you're going to have. General suggestion, 250 milligrams twice a day, actually help on studies to assist moderate to severe insomnia. But it also has other benefits, such as helping anxiety, lowering down anxiety, and constipation. Another amino acid, which is very good, L-theanine. And it's also present in natural forms through black and green tea. Suggestion would be 100 to 200 milligrams twice a day. One of the herbs that we commonly use, it's called valerian root, and it promotes early sleep induction and improves sleep quality. Taken almost 30 minutes to 1 hour before bedtime is the best advice. Too much would actually make you feel drowsy and sleepy the next day. So that's going to be your gauge if you're taking too much of the valerian root. And yeah, there's our tea versions of this, but also in capsule forms. So now another one would be melatonin. So this is very famous for sleep and insomnia. And as we age, the production of our own natural melatonin decreases. And what other things lowers that down? High glycemic carbohydrate foods, such as sugars, excessive intake of alcohol, caffeine, smoking, the electromagnetic devices that we have also lowers melatonin. Suggestions, start low with 3 milligrams, and maybe 5 milligrams would be a good enough dose for everybody. And you don't need any blood checks or saliva checks when you're doing this short term, but for long-term use, we need to check your levels up just to make sure we're under safe range, because excess would lead to, again, depression and sometimes even drowsiness. So we see our patients and we do that with them as well. And as I mentioned to you, women are the most common to have insomnia. So what we do with our patients, we assess hormone status. Usually the ones who has this issue is the one who has a low progesterone. Low progesterone leads to disturbed sleep because progesterone actually is a sedative and has anti-anxiety effects. It plays a very important role in the sleep cycle. So in our clinic, this one we do testing for, may it be for the reproductive or menopausal females.
Wow, as always, great information, Doctor. We thank you for the knowledge. That is Dr. Nario with Biointegrative Health Center in Reno, Nevada. Check him out online. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Steve. As we all know, the knowledge is power, and thank you for letting me provide you with the edge in longevity and health maintenance, which I call the biological edge or the bio edge.